Marshall skips away. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win the grand final.
Whips that one away, and Kane Williamson and his team now World Test Champions.
Welcome back to the TGIF podcast. Thank God it's footy. Plenty going on in the world of rugby league as we draw towards the end of the NBA season, and there's no more cricket or football to talk about, action as such.
We're just
Plenty
getting
of
into the
rugby
meat
league news.
of the league, though. You're right, just into the meat of the league. We've hit that point in the season. Teams are getting a little bit mushed up from the old Origin, where we're seeing some new faces come out and get a chance to play. So it's interesting. It's good. We're back to a full week this week, I believe. Just the one team with the bye. So nice to have a full batch of NRL games to get into. Unfortunately, no wins over the weekend.
Yeah, not for our teams. Falling agonisingly short for us. You managed to rake one in terms of the accountability there.
I did.
The Bronx delivered again with the
I'm thinking the Bronx might have to become the old second team. Yeah, it's 2 weeks in a row now that they've come off with the 1-12. I actually
within $6 of the lead now.
don't think I went. I should have really read the notes before I put my bets on. I didn't actually have a look. Didn't
You
realise.
can change tack.
I'll stick with it. I've already put it on, so we'll have to stick with what it is. But I didn't go Broncos 1-12. I can't remember how I went for that game. But 2 weeks in a row, you're right, $6 in the lead. We're creeping on up there. So we'll see if we can pull something out of the bag again this week and maybe make my way into that lead, hopefully.
Yeah, see what happens. But how's your neck feeling, bro?
We've
woke up this morning and
I think I've done
couldn't
something
turn
last
the old
night.
Zoolander.
Yeah, a little bit stiff. Managed to sort of get myself a little bit of a crick in the neck, you could say.
Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, not too bad.
Missed the start of the Burko.
Actually, I
season
won
tonight?
170 comp tonight, actually. So
it starts next week.
It's not actually too bad missing out. Yeah, it starts up next week.
Rest up.
I did manage to get out of school nice and early today. Out the door by 3:30. Not often that happens, and made my way straight down to the beach and treated myself to my first winter swim.
Bit of a mid-winter swim. Not
a
even
mid-winter,
mid-winter,
just
early
just
winter.
a pre-winter, not pre, early winter, early June swim. Not much of a swim dip.
You're braver than most. Getting in those.
It could be a wade, maybe
New
you could
Zealand
say.
waters in June.
Managed to parked up.
Where were we? The swim.
Golf
Interruption.
Yeah, golf is booked for next Saturday. We're locked in 8:19 off the one, so we're ready to
We'll
go.
see you there, Daz.
Back
if you're
into
listening.
it, Daz. If you're listening, we booked you in as well, mate. So we'll see you there. Now, yeah, little swim, low tide. Had to do the old run out. Jogged about 50 metres down the beach. Whipped off, well, maybe not whipped off the tee then, but actually not just the tee, the hoodie. Had the hoodie on. Just to keep the warmth in for that little bit longer, and boasted out there. Wasn't the nicest, first of June, first swim of June, not the 1st of June, obviously, but had to be done. It was a bloody sunny day, and nice little, I guess, midweek freshen up, which is nice. So. Now, having a look at what we've, what the big taking point, or big taking point of the weekend, news that rocks both the NRL and State of Origin world, and that is the news of Nathan Cleary's injury.
Yeah,
huge thing to come out of Sunday
night there. Yeah, obviously the biggest piece of news from the field. There's been some pretty big news off the field. One player's antics there. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, look, huge news for the Blues there. Their superstar number 7's been ruled out for the series. Lots of talk about potential replacements, not only in the number 7, but what that flow-on effect has on Jerome Luai there in the 6, and even Appy in the 9.
I think really there's only one thing that can happen, and it's that Hines slots in at 7.
Yeah, to be fair, there's been so much talk.
Someone else is called in to replace Hines.
I don't like it, yeah. I think, yeah, Hines slots into 7 there. He's been training in the 2 weeks, probably filling in at 7 for
yeah, get him in there.
And I've heard lots of talk that, well, not lots of talk, but they mention, don't chuck a rookie in there on State of Origin starting debut up there in the cauldron of Suncorp. But also, if you're not going to get Hines in now while Cleary's injured, Cleary's younger than Hines. I don't see Hines ever playing State of Origin if it's not now.
Yeah, it's silly.
In his preferred position of 7 at least. Probably keeps his spot on the bench if he can make a good impact in the next couple of games there next year. But I do see Nathan slotting straight back in, barring any huge shifts in the NRL landscape over the next 12 months there before the next series rolls around. But yeah, like you said, get Hines in there. Dally M winner. There's no better player in the game. Oh, sorry.
Get out of here.
There's no better player in the game if you're talking about Dally M votes across last season. He's up there this year as well with, what was it, the first 3 rounds injured. So fair play.
It seems silly to
deserve this
anyone
chance
else in there in the conversation, really. I think saw a stupid article today that said Origin hopeful injured at training, something to do with Cody Walker. No, you don't bring Cody Walker into the team. You've got Hines there, he's involved in the setup already. He comes in, takes the 7, and you call someone else in, whether you call in someone else like a Campbell Graham or whether you're calling in someone else like similar to a Steph Roll who is going to possibly be involved in the next few years but not really just yet, and they don't play. I think that's the way to go, I think, really. It seems silly not to play Hines there.
100%.
I think, yeah, it's stupid, but we'll see who is named in the 7, because they're going to have a bit to do, I think, after obviously going down in game 1 there.
Yeah, I guess on the game, the old saying couldn't have stood more true on the night, eh? Queensland just seemed to get Origin a little bit better than New South Wales and ice those moments. Over the years, we've seen it time and time again, particularly our generation. Hasn't seen too much of the team in blue lifting the shield at the end of the series, and what we saw was, I guess, just encapsulated why. New South Wales dominated pretty much every stat you could think of, bar the scoreline. It was just probably 2 or 3 moments where it was shit defence from New South Wales versus superhuman defence from Queensland on the other end.
Yeah,
and you can flip that obviously with the attack, clunky attack from New South Wales versus clinical attack from Queensland when they get their chances.
It was a good game though. I thought it was awesome, real good solid start. It was up nice and fiery right from the get-go. You saw Reece Walsh's, but right before the game he was wide-eyed and ready to go. You could tell he was taking in all
numerous sort of salts.
Yeah, I was just thinking taking in everything going on.
And the dressing room beforehand, potentially?
Taking it all in around him, and first head up of the game, he just ran it straight into, I don't know who it was, a couple of those big boys there from New South Wales, and he was ready for it, and it was just good.
Copped a bit of an elbow there from Addo Carter early on, and didn't seem to rattle him at all. He
was awesome. I think probably one of the best out on the field. I think he was awesome.
Yep.
Completely shadow on what probably a lot of people were saying about what he was going to be able to do coming in for his debut game, I thought. But no, it was awesome. As someone who doesn't really get too caught up on how the game eventuates, I quite enjoyed it. It was definitely at the start at least. The only bloody thing I don't like about Origin is the time it kicks off. I wish we could get one Origin game in New Zealand would be amazing. Just to be able to go to it. Obviously it would be different. But I think, you see what the Warriors fans are like, and there's that many bloody Kiwis who get behind New South Wales and Queensland. I think we'd make a pretty good spectacle, but
it would sell out very, very quickly.
I'm always shattered come bloody second half. It's, I'm sitting there one-eyed, trying to keep awake. But it was an awesome game, and it was. That first 20 minutes was just awesome, real heavy hitting, good running from both teams.
Yeah, look.
I think you're right. Clinicalness was probably the main thing to come out of that game. Queensland clinical when they needed to be, and New South the opposite, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. It was a very close game throughout, but yeah, you look at those stats and it probably shouldn't have been. But Queensland get the dub, game 1 there down in Adelaide, and they take things to Suncorp for game 2 here, which makes it very, very tricky for New South Wales, considering they've got to go and get a win in enemy territory there. We know how poor their record is over the years up in the Sunshine State. So, yeah, interesting to see whether New South Wales respond with an improved performance, or Queensland sort of seal the deal here.
Yeah, surely not 2-0, I don't think. I think New South Wales possibly come back in this one, and but there is still a few more weeks obviously to go. Whether we see any changes due to bans or injuries, they've still got obviously a full round of NRL games to get through this weekend. Before anything can, I guess, really be set in stone. Obviously it was pretty much locked in there with Cleary at 7, and after last weekend they've had to change it up. So I'm sure there'll be things that they need to change again come Tuesday morning next week after Monday night's game. So whether we see a similar 13 for both teams, we'll have to wait and see, I think, after this weekend.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Latrell is fit enough to make his way back into that side, because I think on the night, Stephen Crichton was probably one of New South Wales' best players.
Yep, he was awesome. So
it'd be tricky to drop him, particularly if Latrell hasn't played any football leading into it. But I just, going back to probably what I said a few weeks ago, if you can get the very best of Latrell, I don't think Queensland can stop him. And New South Wales, it goes a long way towards New South Wales getting a win. Whereas Crichton, possibly that little bit easier to contain for Queensland. Who knows? We saw what he did game 1. He was really good. I thought Luai as well. But New South Wales is best. I think he's due a start on the edge there. Liam Martin. What a performance.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I thought he was head and shoulders New South Wales best in that one. So, yeah, I guess I've heard your opinion. You reckon stick strong?
Either stick strong, or if you're worried about getting a result at Suncorp, put in a bloke who knows how to get one, and that's Adam Reynolds. Chuck him in there at 7. He's not going to feel the wrath or feel anything different. I don't think there. He'll know that half of those blokes out there are probably some fans of him anyway, every other week, so I'm sure he'd be sweet. I did see a couple of, things, memes you may say, saying, Chuck Reynolds in there because he knows how to play at Suncorp, but I don't see any reason why you can't, so whether we see a change, who knows. I guess we get back into this conversation this time next week. Ideally not this time next week, hopefully next week.
Once the squads are named, after this week of footy.
Yeah. So, ideally not next Wednesday, hopefully out there knocking in a few 180s. But
maybe 6 days' time.
6 days' time, we'll get involved. We'll have another look at that. But taking a look, I guess, at what we had over the last week now, get into that team of the week quickly. Starting off in our team of the week, I've just realised what I didn't do, and that was whip out the old
Mid-season special.
Now, actually, you start us off there, running through that team of the week, and I reckon I can get us that team of the mid-team of the season.
Yeah, well, starting off then for the TGIF team of the week for round 14 at the back, a man who plenty of talk around whether he was going to be replaced at the back for New South Wales. I think his performance on the weekend just solidified his jumper for the rest of the series. You don't drop a champion, and that's James Tedesco at the back. What a performance for the Chooks, helping them get the 1 point dub over the doggies there.
He'll be happy. That's his first appearance in the old TGIF jumper.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing his, it's James Tedesco, so you get like a 7, 8, 9 or 10 out of 10 every week, but we haven't had any 9s or 10s so far this year until this week. Just gone, so good on him. Good on you, Teddy. He'll be skippering the Blues, there's no doubt about it in my mind. And then joining him in the back three, Dylan Martinez-Lesniak.
You've got to have your double barrel in there always.
Got to have one of those.
What a game he had for the Wires on the weekend.
100%, yeah. A great try. Might have even snagged a couple, I believe. And joining him on the other wing, a man who just can't stop scoring tries, moves into 4th outright all time. Alex Johnston.
I think 4th, yeah, you're right.
Hat-trick against the Titans. So
another bloke making his first appearance for this year for the team of the weeks, which is I guess not been in his try scoring form like he was last year that we used to see.
Last couple of years where he's had 30.
Going down the other side there a lot more now, the Bunnies. So not as much
when
ball.
You've got Campbell Graham, I suppose. But speaking of centres, our centres for this week, Herbie, a man who's no doubt heavily coming into Nat's calculations right now.
Yeah, he is.
Spot in the team of the year at centre there. Another awesome performance from the young Bronx centre. And then another man backing up from Origin, Phil Holmes. Obviously didn't have to respond to the criticism that Teddy did, but ran for a shitload of metres and had a huge hand in helping the Cows demolish the Storm. It was the most points they've conceded for like 19, 18 years or something since 2004.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's not what I don't think what many people expected to come out of that game there. But no, he had an awesome game in that one there. But yeah, definitely a shock result. What was it,
45-20?
45, yeah, nuts. You don't really think of the Storm conceding 45 points in a game at any stage, do you?
No, it's unheard of, really. Into the halves now, Cody Walker at 6, a man who they've been talking about chucking into that sky blue 6 jersey, just based on, I guess, his pure numbers over the last 4 or 5 years there, and maybe, like you said, the fact that Reynolds might come into consideration. They're a good combination there, so he's doing enough on the field to, I guess, come into Freddie's considerations there, Cody Walker, so good on him there. And joining him in the halves, a man who helped break your heart, along with many other Tigers fans there on Friday night.
Friday night, unfortunately.
Friday night there.
The jammy kicks whipping out.
Two
off the post.
Grubbers off the post. That's
Grubby.
fucking grubby.
Grubby.
Yeah.
2 grubbers off the post. Not what we were after as a Tigers fan,
It's
but
a bit grubby, but yeah.
You got to do what you got to do, and for that reason, Jamal Fogarty has made the team for this week. So
what did he score? Like 16 points. Did they get 3 tries?
3 tries, yeah.
So,
I can't remember how many points he scored, but
he scored 2 tries and then kicked all the goals. So, including the controversial one after Brooksy took the lead 19-18, but we'll talk about that one a bit later. Into the forwards now, another double barrel for you. And another man who's probably racking up a few ticks on Nat's tally here, Adam Fanua-Blake. Another huge performance for the Waz leader of that pack, I suppose. Well, you've got Tahu Harris as the leader of that team, but Fanua-Blake leads from the front with his actions, and yeah, he was huge in helping the Waz get the big win over the Finns, which was a little bit surprising, especially considering it was only 6-4 at half time to end 30-8 that one.
Oh, he seems to be putting in these performances pretty regularly now.
100%. He's good for at least 180 metres a week.
And the second double barrel to make his way into the team for the week, which is awesome. So I believe it's possibly a season high of 3. We've got a third that sneaks the way in at the end there, but possibly the first time we've whipped out 3 double barrels in a team of the week. I'm not too sure.
No, we've definitely had the triple double before.
We have round 1, Nickel Clockstead, DCE, Jeremy Marshall King.
Good stuff. But talking about this week's hooker, we've got Reece Robson. Now, another man who was instrumental in helping the Cows rack up that record win over the Storm there, and joining him in that front row, Moses Leota. Now, might not have racked up the big numbers that some of the other props did, but he was certainly huge for Penrith in their win against my Dragons on Sunday night there. And our back rows for this week, Kaloa Matangi and Johnny Bateman.
Johnny Bateman,
What a
unreal.
performance.
Unreal.
It was 100 points, was it, on the VB?
103 possibly.
Which is pretty crazy for a back rower. Yeah, I mean, what a bloke. His attitude seems to be rubbing off on the rest of the Tigers, which is awesome to see.
Oh, and he was keen to get out there and put in a good showing, obviously up against the Raiders, and I think that's what he managed to do. And unfortunate that we couldn't get the win for him there in that game. I'm sure he would have loved to come away with the win there.
Yeah.
But wasn't to be, unfortunately. So,
No.
but he does. He makes his way into that team, and Kaloa Matangi as well. Another really solid performance for him. Both of those lads making their way into the team for the first time this season.
Keon's been there before, has he not?
He has. He has. I don't think it changed anything here, but.
And then rounding out our team, locking the scrum. Nat advertised him as a double barrel, but he's not rocking the hyphen, so...
He's not rocking the hyphen, but you do...
He's rocking 2 surnames, I suppose.
I guess you do shorten the name, you do rock the old TPJ.
Yeah. Which is the sign of a double barrel.
Yeah, it is the sign of a double barrel. I guess it's a characteristic of a double barrel.
Huge performance for the Dogs, backing up from Origin there.
Yeah, another player backing up he put in a shift. Now, I've kind of had a bit of a brick wall, to be fair. I'm looking through here. I've realised I believe we've only got one winger that is a shoo-in. I believe there is controversial decisions in the halves that we need to have a look over. We will have to do some deliberating, but a couple of stats that I can bring you from mid-season point, if you will. Obviously, Captain Sin Forget, who we have kind of forgotten recently, not been involved in the team for a wee while.
Yeah, well, he didn't play huge minutes after State of Origin.
You're right. But that's Payne Haas. He's been in the team 10 times out of 14.
Yeah.
pretty good from him there.
Missed 1 week for being banned. Missed 1 week for being in Origin camp when the Bronx played in Napier. And then, might have, apart from that, just missed the team 1 more week, apart from this week.
So
huge performance from
Painey there.
Paino.
I guess we're going to rock you a little top 3. We also have, I guess, then Payne Haas is your current leading TGIF WM winner. Maybe if you're gonna go for it that way. And sitting there, I guess you can go a little second equal. We've gone for AFB for Noah Blake, alongside Campbell Graham, both making it into the team 5 times. And then Herbie sitting there just behind them in 4. Possibly a couple of honourable mentions, I guess you could say. Uppy managing to get in there. He's not an honourable mention. I think he's taken top spot there. No, that's a battle out as well. I'm not too sure really if we do have any honourable mentions. Plenty of names there, that's for sure. And I think the reason we have kind of gone a little bit wayward sometimes in our picking and scenario based, a few of these, we've got a huge pool of players to pick from. Hence the brick wall. So
we'll bring that to.
We'll look at that another time.
We'll package. We'll shelve it for now, and
we'll see what we can do.
The mid-season team of the year at some other stage. That's not
some other stage in the season there. That's not mid-season. So late news, but we'll get it to you at some stage.
A bit of number crunching to do. I suppose.
Better late than never, I guess the saying goes.
Yep, better late than never. 100%. Which kind of what you could say about the Tigers on the weekend. Better late than never to almost bring that one back, 20-19, with hearts only to be broken.
I wouldn't say better late than
late
never.
Penalty.
I wouldn't really say better late than never.
It's possibly
kind of a
not
waste of
what you'd
time.
say, but it kind of is.
Now, if you haven't caught the drift there, we have made that slight segue into this week, and we are talking about my Tigers first because we do travel to the Gold Coast there. Thursday night, we've gone from having a Friday night game of footy, something that I said last week we don't often get. We've now got Thursday night footy. Quite a nice start to the week. It does mean there is the slight possibility of going in on a working day in a shit mood if the loss does come off. But we are up against the Titans, and you're right, at 2019 loss. Is it better late than never? Is it a slight waste of time? Obviously, good showing, I guess, in that last 9 minutes. Similar to how we played up against the Broncos there for that patch early on this season, but it is hard to watch when you can see them play like that, for that space of time and not play with that same urgency throughout the rest of the game. I thought there was patches where we did play all right. I think defensively we were good to only concede 18.
Yeah, when you can,
18 points up until that last play.
Especially 2 tries with the old kick off the post.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard to defend. That's hard to anticipate.
I mean, maybe the second one because he knew he was going for it as soon as they got the ball. But yeah, it is harder to defend. So, like you said before, is it a controversial call, that last 2 points with the score sitting at 19-18? Now it's in the rules. You take the legs out on the kicker. Unfortunately, the penalty is given. Can you blame him for going for it? No, you've got to try and put the pressure on.
I don't think you can blame Papali'i, but I do think that's a penalty.
Yeah, well and truly. And I think if you're going to, people are out there moaning and saying shit about it, you've got to be able to put in the shift for the full game.
Yeah, you do.
If we'd played like that for 25 minutes, we could have been 30-18 up by that stage, and there would have been no field goal attempt. You know what I mean? So, I think what I'm looking for this time out, it's up against the Titans. We've said it a few times. Look, they nearly managed to pull out 26 points again.
Exactly.
If only they'd missed another kick, we would have had another 26 pointer for the Titans there. Now, clearly they can score points. I think defence has probably been one of our more stronger things this year. But we've shown that we can score. So hopefully it's not some high-scoring battle this game here. I would like it to be a little bit close, but we saw the Titans obviously had good patches there up against the Bunnies when the ball was in hand, but some pretty poor defending to ship in 46 points in the end.
Yeah, poor defending, but also a little bit on the end of a Cody Walker masterclass there. So you kind of, it's almost pretty poor from Gold Coast, but also really good from South at the same time. I think they'll be a lot better at home this week. I don't know if last week was at home for them, but obviously came down to Leichhardt and spoiled the party there round 1, was it?
Yep, round 1, yep.
So the Tigers boys will be looking for a little bit of revenge, playing a lot better footy overall. But like you said, you'll be hoping for, look, in all honesty, I don't know if you need a full 80 against Gold Coast, but you know, if you can play 60 minutes,
half a footy at least, maybe even to think of for now. A half
a footy, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, playing like you did for that last sort of 10 or 12 against Canberra.
A half of good footy sporadically placed throughout 80-minute periods, which equates to probably like
you'll be up
6 or 7 tries. Yeah, that's how a game of footy goes.
Yeah, you'll be up.
That's what I'm after.
2 or 3 tries, so surely the Tigers can go and get the job done, but it will be tricky. It will be tricky. The Titans, they've been up and down, so when they play good footy with the likes of Fafita, Tino, Foz is doing his thing there again. Lofi Pereira, if he gets any sniff of space out wide, he's in for a try, so plenty of guns for the Gold Coast for the Tigers to have to contend with. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but yeah, looking forward to it on Thursday night. Should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sticking with my guns again. I'm waiting for this bet to come off. Tigers 1-12 into Jarrod Buller. It's slowly getting less and less each week. Only paying $8.08 this time around, but I've got to stick with it. It's going to come off for me at some stage, and hopefully we can start the week off with it this time around. And it's not looking too dissimilar to your bet there either.
Yeah, it's sticking with your guns is exactly what you're going for with the Tigers here. Tigers 1-12 into Brooksy to cross the stripe, $12.87. So similar to you there.
Slowly going down in
value each week as the Tigers and Brooks show better form, and Jarrod Buller just continues his rise into superstardom there at the West Tigers. But we'll be hoping, you know, there's plenty of cases where both of these can come off and we can both be sitting there at least.
Well, there's only one case where they can both come off, and that's a 1-12 win where they've both scored. I don't know if I could say there's plenty of cases.
Well, there's plenty of game scenarios where Brooks and Buller score a try. Could be a big 30-28 win for the Tigers. Could be a 12-6 with those two scoring the only tries. Could be could be anything on the cards really. But like you said, yeah, we'll be hoping for that Tigers 1-12, Brooks and Buller. And that'll take us into the Friday night as Happy Chappies. Starting off excuse me, with the Canberra Raiders hosting the Wars, the New Zealand Warriors, in what is a huge occasion for the Raiders there. One of the favourite players, I think, not only for Canberra fans, but fans across the NRL, and Jarrod Croker runs out for his 300th NRL game.
I will, at approximately 8:02, 7:59, I will be on my feet, standing up,
Viking clapping the bastard arm,
partaking in a Viking clap for the Raiders and for Jarrod Croker. And because I hate the Warriors, really. Now, It is a huge occasion. It is the 300th game of Jarrod Croker, obviously. Managed to get himself a sneaky little rest there last week up against the Tigs. And he comes out in his 300th game up against the Warriors at home in front of the fans, and I'm sure he's going to be looking forward to this one. Possibly at stages there in his career, thought he might have got to this a wee while ago, and possibly stages in his more recent career where he didn't think he was going to get to this stage. So it is huge for Crokes, and I'm sure 90% of the NRL are going to be behind him there. Come Saturday, most people are going to be wanting him to come away with a win. I'm sure there's probably even the odd Warriors fan
that wouldn't begrudge him.
Wouldn't begrudge him a win here in this game.
Yeah, he's a bit of a legend, isn't he?
But
a bit is an understatement.
Yeah,
huge
legend. Obviously, that headgear is you can see it in your mind there when you close your eyes.
With the bastard. That pearly white headgear. Contrasting the green jumper that he, I suppose, didn't make famous, but has helped. So many, I suppose, young kids around, running around in that headgear with a man to look up to, and we'll be hoping that, he can cross the stripe in this one. We'll get into that a little bit later. But surely he can cap his 300th with a little bit of a meaty. 2 or 3 goals.
I'd like to hope so.
Maybe 5 or 6. Make it a good occasion for the Raiders there. But they're coming up against a Warriors team that they're coming into this one off the back of a really good performance at home against the Finns. Not too many people would have picked this. I guess points difference in the game, 30-8. Big win for the Wars up against the Dolphins. Have been so, I guess, resolute. So
this is the one game I didn't catch.
Too many blowouts.
Didn't catch any of this game. I couldn't bring myself to watching the Warriors after the heartbreak from the night before, and I didn't really see the Dolphins coming away off the win, so I didn't bother tuning into this one. I thought I'm going to keep my eyes away from this. I don't really want to go from watching the Tigers lose to watching the Warriors win. It's not really my ideal segue through a long weekend. So I didn't catch any of this, but no, not what people expected. 30-8. It is a slightly bigger win than what even most Warriors fans would have been picking. I think if there's any Warriors fans out there who did realistically think that they were a hope of a 20-plus game, then they're pulling your leg. But from what I've read and what I've seen, it was an awesome performance there from the Warriors. Obviously, we spoke before about people like Fanua Blake and what they've been able to do week in, week out, and always helps when you're one of the only teams there, or the only team, I believe, this time around, not to be affected by Origin.
Yeah, the only team without a player in State of Origin 1 there, across the squads. But another man who seems to be finding his best football again this year, and probably one of his best performances in a number of years, Sean Johnson there. Front and centre of the Warriors win. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but a couple of good stepping tries from Sean Johnson.
I don't often click on the Warriors highlights when I see them come up. I've got to say, when it's a win, I also I'm less inclined to jump on there. But I haven't seen one thing from this game, actually.
A couple of really tasty tries from Sean Johnson, as you can imagine. Hot stepping feet there, but look. If there's a week where you let someone off, you got to let Jarrod Croker off this week. Maybe have a big night on Thursday in Canberra.
I'm sure that there's got to be someone in there in the Warriors camp who will be saying, look, let's just get out there, play get into first gear, not really cruise any further than that. Play one of our weaker games, give the Raiders a win, and we'll send Croker off a happy chappy. And old mate Nat will also finish up happy chappy, fingers crossed. And if I can end up happy after this game with a financial gain, you'll be in the same boat. I've stolen your bet this week. Raiders 1-12 into Croker, just ticking over the $7 mark, $7.05. So obviously there'll be no difference there between the two of us if it comes off, but we'll be hoping for the same. Before we go into that next game of Friday night footy, and that is Manly up against the Dolphins. Now, the Sea Eagles coming off the back of the bye, and the aforementioned Dolphins coming off that game we have just spoken about. Manly, it's a weird season for Manly. Really struggling, I think, to figure out what type of team they are this year. Are they a team that is going to be battling it out in there and pushing on for a good challenge, or are they going to be one of those teams sort of dwindling around there just outside the 8, on fire every second week, and then can have some weeks where they are just complete opposite. They struggle without Tommy Turbo, obviously, as we have been aware over the last few years. And they do. It's a hard one, Manly, this year. But the Dolphins are the team, I think, as well. It can be a little bit similar. Can have some games where on their day they're looking amazing, and some days, like obviously last week, where they put in performances where they lose by 20 points or so. But it's a Wayne Bennett coach team. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I think with Tommy and DCE back for Manly, they obviously look a much stronger side there. It's no coincidence when you've got one of New South Wales' guns and the Queensland halfback and captain, that your team goes a lot better with them in it. But yeah, like you said, after a really good start to the season where they rushed out to second or maybe even first at some stage, possibly not behind the Bronx after the start they had. But
Manly were in second before they had that drop, yeah.
But yeah, they started off really well, and ever since then, you're right, they have been sort of 1 week good, 1 week maybe not so good. We've seen some awesome performances from the likes of Joshy Schuster coming into his first role, first year in that 6 role, but also some not so hot performances from him that he might wish he could have done a lot better. But yeah, who knows what you're going to get with Manly. I think playing at home, you're probably going to get the best of them, particularly with Tommy at the back and DCE leading them around in that 7 jumper. But yeah, like you said, anything can happen up against the Wayne Bennett coach side. Wouldn't put it past the Dolphins bouncing back this week.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one to pick, this one. Manly coming in that little bit fresher and having had that week off, and didn't have to have any of their Origin players back up or anything like that. So it's a handy position to be in. Yeah, possibly coming up against these Dolphins at a tricky time. I'm sure Wayne would have got out there and said to them that they need to try and bounce back this week, and I'm sure that they're all going to be wanting to do the same. And yeah, it's a tough one to pick result wise this week, I do think. You are right, man. They are that little bit stronger at home, but it's a tough one, I think, to pick a winner. I probably would have to go lean towards Manly, I think, but I do think it will be close.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Manly in terms of what I'm thinking, but I'm chasing the value by going for the Finns in this one. I've gone Finns 1-12 into Jermaine Isako. Now, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be pronounced Isako, as the Warriors commentator was pronouncing it last week, but that'll rack you in $7.27 no matter which way you pronounce his name.
Yeah, $7.27, a nice little bit of money coming in there if it comes off. Now, I've gone for two of the big boy backs. Now, 2 lads playing in the backs who slightly on the bigger side, a little bit of beef behind them,
but nimble and quick on their feet.
Well and truly, you know, that's big vel to Whare and Joshy Schuster, if they can both cross the try line there for me, $10.71. A nice way to sign off our Friday before we get into a little bit of Super Saturday footy. And we start that off, first game of Saturday, with your lads kicking it off up against the Bunnies. And coming off that loss there against Penrith.
Yeah.
Not the worst performance from your boys, not the worst performance from the Dragons there.
No, it definitely wasn't as bad as you probably would have thought going into the game. Possibly just a few moments that didn't go our way. And that one that might have been the difference in the end. But yeah, when you're coming up against a side like Penrith, you've got to get pretty much all of those moments right in order to pick up the win. Even if Nathan Cleary goes off injured after 10 or 15 minutes. You know, you think back to that moment where, you know, Fene knocks the ball back and then Sloan stops and then they call it play on and then he runs away and he's away to score and then
it was a weird play
and then Penrith score from
that was a weird
from that
phase of the game.
set. So you reverse that 6 points there and that's 24-20, but obviously Penrith chasing the game would have been hard to stop compared to what we offered in that last few minutes there. But yeah, you're right, an awesome performance from a number of the lads, particularly led by our perennial leader, Ben Hunt. Plenty of talk about whether he's going to switch clubs now that we've parted ways with Hook as coach, but for the time being, he's a Dragons player, and we can thank our lucky stars as Dragons fans because he's a huge reason why, you know, we compete week in, week out in games like that, let alone with sides at the top of the table. So it'd be good to keep him around, and we'll be hoping to get the absolute best out of him if we're going to topple South Sydney in this one because they've been playing some awesome footy this year.
It'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, they nearly racked up 50 points last week.
Yeah, 46-28.
Without
that final
Latrell.
score without Latrell.
No Latrell this week, but Blake Taff was awesome.
Yeah, he was. He was really good, and coming in there into that spot there for Latrell again this week. They are going to have to be up for it. The Dragons. The Bunnies are playing good footy. They've been there or thereabouts for most of that season now, and they've been a strong team. Strong defensively, obviously probably a little bit disappointed last week to come away with that many points conceded. But it's going to be a tough ask, I think, for the Dragons in this one. They're going to have to be on form, and they're going to have to be a few other names out there performing alongside Ben Hunt, I think, for the Dragons to come away with a win here.
100%.
I am unfortunately leaning towards the Bunnies, I believe, in this one. I think they might be too strong for your boys, but anything can happen over the space of 80 minutes.
Yeah, is Cam Murray also injured? It's a huge out for Souths there. Obviously, looking at Cookie and Walker, Johnston, Graham, plenty of superstars there for Souths to still to contend with, even with a couple of those origin stars missing. But you're right, it will be very, very tough for the Dragons. Lots of people will be picking Souths to pick up a nice easy win with all the drama that's going on with the Dragons at the moment and the form that we're in. But I'll be hoping that the boys can sort of hush the critics for a week at least, and we can start to say Ryan Carr's 2 from 3 or 2 from 4 or whatever. So yeah, if we can't find anyone, which is looking more and more likely, perhaps we do see Ryan Carr take the job on full time. I don't think that's what the Dragons board will be hoping for.
No, somehow I don't think so either. I don't think that's the plan at the moment. But It's
Plenty going on.
Looking like there's a few people turning away from that job there, but it is going to be tough for them come Saturday night there, or Saturday afternoon. I have unfortunately led towards the Bunnies now. I've chucked a little bit of meat into this one here, into this multi now. Going for a little 1 to 12. I did think the Dragons were decent in patches there last week, so they're going to keep it nice and close. And chucked in a couple of try scorers just to, add a bit of juice, add a bit of oomph to it. A try scoring machine that is Makeli Ravalawa. And a man coming up against his old team in Jacob Host. Now you chuck those three in there together. $27.69. So definitely a little bit of meat behind that one. A little bit more value in the bet, a little bit more money in the kitty if it can come off.
Yeah, that's always good to see. Hitting the double digits there, nearly $30. Good to see. Can't say I'm hoping it comes off either way. But it's probably a heck of a lot more likely than my option. I've just gone rinse and repeat, Dragons 13 plus, $6.80.
Stick with what you know.
If we can see an awesome performance, you never know what happens. If the Bunnies are a little bit off and Ben Hunt has the game of his life, I'll be walking away with $6.80 to start my Saturday afternoon as a happy customer.
You shall, and that will get us into game 2 of our Super Saturday, and that is the Bronx up against the Knights. Now, Knights coming into this game against the Red Hot Bronx, fresh off the bye, and the Bronx coming off that win up against the Sharkies there, 20 points to 12. A real good battle there, that one, last week. The Broncos up against the Sharkies.
Yeah, what did we say it was at the time? First versus third?
First versus third, I believe, yeah.
Or, yeah, something like that. I think Penrith might be back in the lead again now. But
Penrith, yeah, I saw a weird graphic.
Just on points difference.
I'll see if I can find it.
But yeah, it was an awesome game of footy, that one. Brisbane up against Cronulla. We saw, I guess, the absolute best of the Bronx in that one. Gritty performance and a couple of moments of flair, and they were able to come away with a huge one down at Shark Park. So the season just keeps getting better and better for Bronx fans.
Yep, they'll be loving it, and yeah, a really good performance there from the Bronx, and obviously, yeah, what we said, saw some depleted numbers from some of those Origin lads, still able to come away after the win, so I think they'll be happy with how it went there over the weekend, and I'm sure they'll be looking to bring in some of the similar form up against this Knights team, who will be feeling a little bit more refreshed following the weekend.
Just realised a little bit of a side story. Kalen Ponga gets his chance up against Reece Walsh in this one, the battle of the new Queensland fullback versus the old of last season. So yeah, a couple of superstars in the number one jumpers there. So who do we see get the chockies in this one? I dare say it'll be tough for Kalen, considering the cattle around Reece are a little bit better than what Kalen has around him. But you never know what can happen. If Kalen has a good game, he can inspire that Newcastle team to anything on his day if he plays well. So potential for a good game, potentially not. But,
I haven't really liked too much
Newcastle,
of what I've seen from the Knights this year.
Yeah,
really.
that's what I was going to say. If Newcastle can bring their best from this year, it will be a good game. But we probably just haven't seen that on a regular enough basis from Newcastle to really be seriously backing them to come away with anything in this one, coming up to Brisbane.
Jesus Christ, no, not at all. I think it's probably going to be a bit of a want to say a walk in the park, but a bit of a blowing off. A blowing off, that's not the right saying at all. A blowing up.
I don't know if Brisbane will be blowing off Newcastle. Maybe the other way around.
Yeah, possibly the other way around, but
maybe beating over. Who knows?
We've both gone very similar this week. We've both gone for the old 13 plus, and we've both whipped out 3 try scorers now. Pardon me. One of these blokes appears in both of our bets, and that is the Maungawini Stags. There's your first try scorer. Then we've both managed to get in a young, hot Broncos back. You've got in Herbie Farnworth, and I've got in Reece Walsh.
Yep.
And then the slight point of difference, I've managed to get a Knight involved in my team, and that's the try scoring machine of Dom Young. Whereas you've opted for a slightly different route, and that is Jordan Ricky. You're going to come away with quite a nice looking number there, $21.22. And mine slightly more, $25.11. So 2 pretty solid returns if they can come off. Again, different scenarios where these can come off. We could both be walking away with a little bit of moolah there in your middle game for your Saturday. But
I'd be happy if that comes off.
Sets us up for what would usually be a
20 odd bucks,
a pinnacle game of the round. Roosters up against Penrith. Would usually be the game that everyone's looking forward to seeing, but the way that the Roosters have been this year, it doesn't really have that same ring to it as it would have if we'd seen the Roosters in a position that everyone would have expected.
Yeah, the Roosters languishing down in 9th or 10th at the moment.
Let me have a look. I was going to say 11th maybe.
So things have certainly
9th.
Certainly looked better on the eastern beaches of Sydney in previous years. You are right, but perhaps the win against the Doggies last week was what they needed to switch momentum a little bit. It's going to be a lot harder coming up against the 2-time premiers, albeit no Nathan Cleary for Penrith. With succumbing to that hamstring injury, he'll be out for the next 6 or so weeks. But doesn't really matter with Penrith. They trot out the next man up, and doesn't seem to change their performance a heck of a lot. The rest of the superstars tend to pick up the slack when another one of them is missing. So you're right, it will be a very tough one for Roosters, and what we would probably normally be teeing up as a top 4 clash. Many people would have looked at that at the start of the season and thought, yeah, this could be, first versus second, first versus third at this stage of the season. But Penrith probably, coming up against the bottom of the table side to only come away with an 8-point win. The Roosters they'll be fancying themselves to maybe come in and just build on that a little bit, and no offence to some of our boys that we've got out there, but the likes of Joey Manu and Suali'i and James Tedesco are a little bit harder to handle than some of our lads.
Yeah, it's slightly different kettle of fish there to try and get away with. And it's going to be a slightly different matchup, but it is a shame that we're not going to see, I guess, the match that maybe we thought we would have got. But who knows if the Roosters can pull out something out of nowhere and I guess finally start to try and turn this season around. This would be the game to try and get a bit of momentum. This would be the game that would give you a bit of momentum, if you can pull off a win here against
2 wins,
the Panthers.
Top of the table Penrith.
You'd be pretty happy.
Good for confidence for the Chooks, that's for sure.
I do, however, think it is going to be quite a big one, and it has shown this week by the way that I've tapped now. I've leant towards that Penrith 13 plus. It was hard to not go not go down that route, and I've chucked in Dylan Edwards for a bit more meat, and $6.65, nothing too flash, but definitely a scenario I can see happening that comes Saturday night there.
$6.65, not bad value there. Edwards is, he's been scoring a lot of meaties lately, so wouldn't be surprised to see that one come off. I'm keeping the result out of this one because I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday night there. But I've gone for two blokes coming off State of Origin performances. Now, two blokes, there's been plenty of talk of shipping them straight out of the team. No consideration towards the fact that they were probably two of our best players on the night for New South Wales, and that's Romy and Stephen Crichton also to score a try. Both of them, to score tries. $9.63, so nearly $10 there.
Yeah, not a bad way
Crichton, he scores a lot, so it's basically $10 for Jerome to score a try.
Yeah, not a bad way to finish off your Saturday, that's for sure. If they can come off there. Now, as we get into our Sunday footy, we start off with a match that's probably more looking like the game of the round, and that is the Storm up against the Sharkies. Now, two teams coming off losses here from last week. Obviously, the Storm coming off that bit of a shellacking, 45-20 up against the Cowboys there, and the Sharkies, that game that we just spoke about there, coming off that loss to the Broncos now. Both teams are going to want to fire back. This week they're going to be hoping for a win and hoping that they can try and catch the other team while they're down a little bit.
Yeah, I think Melbourne will certainly be the more down of the two sides, having nearly racked up 50 points against them up in Townsville there. Cronulla they'll be gutted, but losing a close one to the Bronx, they won't be seeing it as the end of the world, but both of these sides will be, I guess what I'm trying to say is they both don't want to lose two in a row, because they've both got top four aspirations for the end of the year there.
I think it's
a very tough one to call down in Melbourne. Cronulla are playing some awesome footy. You can see them getting the job done, but Melbourne are very, very strong at home.
Yeah, it's a tough one to pick, but I haven't really seen anything too flash that I've liked, I don't think, from Melbourne this year. And the Sharkies have been playing some pretty tasty footy, so I am going to have to lead towards the Sharkies, and what is my only one of my only non-multis of the week. The last two are usually is where my bets start to go a little bit out the gate, but I've managed to rein them in a little bit near the end this week. A Sharks win to 12, $3.40. A nice simple one for this game here.
It is a nice simple one, but I do see the value in it. I've gone the opposite side of the coin, Melbourne 1 to 12. But I have chosen the multi option to get a little bit more value in there. So that's Melbourne 1 to 12 into Nico Hines to score a try up against his old club. 14-22, that one's going to get you.
A little bit more meat in that one there, that's for sure. Obviously, always chucking in that try score, it does give you a bit more, but it would be a nice way to finish off that game as we near the end of our week of footy. It would be a nice leeway into that Doggies Parramatta game. Interesting little match-up here to finish off the week. The Eels obviously coming off that bye, and the Doggies coming off that heartbreaking loss there to the Roosters, the 25-24 loss, and another team here who is going to be. It's a weird one, the Doggies. Obviously, this influx of players again this season, players who people thought were going to come in and be able to do the job for them, and they're languishing. They obviously managed to get that little bit further away from the both of us now, sitting on 12 to the Tigers 10 and you're 8. But they are struggling, the Dogs. But so are the Eels. They're also not in their best phase of footy at all.
Yeah, I guess on the Dogs first, you're right, they have brought in a lot of big names and perhaps haven't made as dramatic a jump up the table as many suspected, but I suppose you also have to take into consideration they have had a lot of injuries. You think of Kickout's been sitting on the sideline for a long time. Couple other injuries for them there. It makes a difference, but you're right, they certainly haven't delivered as everyone was sort of expecting them to, and yeah, with each week that goes by, particularly for us sitting below the Doggies, but that top 8 just starts to get further and further away as a couple of teams might pull out of that congestion zone and sort of start to cement their spot there. You never know what might happen. The Dogs will have to get a hurry up if they want to be, involved in that sort of pull away. Showing some good signs in games, but just probably not having the experience in the, I guess, key positions to really get the job done there. Obviously, Red Marnie's coming in and done a really good job for them in that 9, and Matty Burton in the halves. But you look at sort of, no disrespect to Flanagan and Perham there in the 7. Well, Flanagan's gone now. It's Reynolds back in the side, but Reynolds and Perham at the back is probably not as complete as other sides. You look at, I guess, Para, for instance, with Gutho at the back, and then their number 6. Now, huge news around him. He's been in the headlines for a little bit of naughty behaviour.
Yeah,
Dylan Brown.
They've released a statement to say that he is what is the saying?
He's been
I know something.
He's been stood down under the no fault stand down policy.
Yeah. Basically, he's been a little bit naughty. He's got himself into some trouble, and there's a chance we won't be seeing him involved in the NRL for a wee while.
Yeah, look, I think he's due back in court at the end of the month, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there, whether or not he's found guilty. That's a matter for the courts to decide, and I suppose we can pass our judgment later, but we won't be seeing him running out for the Parramatta Eels until that is sorted by the looks of things. So huge news for Parramatta, with one of their star players, the leading try assist, the man with the most try assists.
The man with the most try assists, yeah, that's a good point. It's unfit to say it, yeah.
I tried to package that somehow, but had to reverse on myself a bit there. But yeah, huge news there for Dylan Brown to be missing for the Eels. But I do think, you look at Parramatta, Mitchell Moses, Clint Gutherson at the back, plenty of guns in their forward back. The return of big Regan Campbell-Gillard this week, which will be a huge in for Parramatta. To have their sort of combo there going again, Big Riggs and Junior. Good signs for Para, but another team, like exactly what I said with the Dogs, they'll be hoping to start winning sooner rather than later before that top 8 starts to get out of reach. I see Parramatta as a side that's more capable of making a
far
late
more
season
capable
run.
than the Doggies there, but they need to get their A into G. They need to get a move on. They need to get that A into G. They need to kickstart it, but not too fast. I'm hoping not too fast. Maybe wait until that second half, because I've whipped out the old halftime, full-time double again, and that is with the Doggies leading at halftime into the Eels taking the Chockies at the end of the game, and it's going to get you $7.50. Fingers crossed.
It's good value. yeah, Josh Adokar likes to get out of the blocks fast, so I can see him getting on board for that at least. But as long as the Eels can come home and win by 13 plus at the end, and Gutho has crossed the stripe amongst that, I'll be a happy man, because that'll rake me in $4.36. Now, I did have Brown in my bet as he was named
before this,
before, 3 hours ago, and I thought he's going to come out and respond to this, but obviously ruled out, so I had to change that one mid-pod, so not the best value to round out the week for you, sorry punters, but I was sort of left on the spot as I realised on his notes, he's not actually playing.
We had to do a little edit. I'd actually, I hadn't seen you change that as such, but I'd seen you typing, and I actually, when I typed in the NRL, that's the first thing that I saw as well, so I've not long just seen that too. But that is our 8 games. It leaves the Cowboys off the bye, and we've been saying it for a wee while. They've needed to try and find some form at some stage to get back to what we saw last year, and that 45-20 win up against the Storm sort of comes out of nowhere a little bit. And again, like that Tigers win up against the Cows, they get that bye that week straight afterwards, and it's probably a nice time to get the bye that they can a little bit longer to have a look at how that game actually went up against the Storm, and take the things that they want to take from it going into the following week's footy. But they get to have a week off now where they can rest. They know that they're locking in that 2 points off the bye, and well-deserved break, I think, after that game.
Yeah, good rests, particularly for a number of the key players who played State of Origin as well. Ruben Cotter, huge minutes and a huge effort in that State of Origin there, so he'll be hopefully putting his feet up for a well-deserved rest.
He'll be getting a break, surely. A break,
a little bit of horizontal time for Rubes there, as much as I hate to big up a Queenslander. He was massive for them and well deserved his man of the match medal in that one. But yeah, look, the Cows, huge performance. Possibly the 3rd or 4th time we've said it this year, but is this it for the Cows?
You'll be hoping so.
They'll be hoping so up north there. But only time will tell. They've got the free 2 points in the bank this week, so they won't have to worry about the bounce back factor. But they'll probably be without a number of players the next time they trot out. So interesting to see how they can respond without their origin stars, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not we see a game like that again, possibly not. But it does wrap us up for the footy for the week now. We're right into the nitty-gritty of the NBA finals. We can actually call it the finals now, can we not?
Yep, it is the NBA finals.
Stupidity, I think, but we are into the finals now. The best of 7 series, winner takes all. Denver Nuggets up against the Miami Heat. 1-1 currently.
Yeah, Denver taking game 1, and then Miami bounced back. They're taking game 2 with a huge effort from a number of players. The Joker dropping 40-odd points there in game 2, not quite enough to get the Chockies over Jimmy Butler and his crew of relatively under the radar
undrafted
teammates.
Blokes. They had a little graphic up there, 6 or 7 blokes, all undrafted.
A number of injuries for Miami throughout the year, so they've had to call deep into their reserves, and they're doing fucking well, earning themselves some good contracts for the years to come, I think.
Oh, I'm sure they will be. But their main goal at the moment will be trying to earn that ring.
Back to Miami tomorrow.
Off to Miami, yep, to see if they can take the most of that advantage. And now try and get away with a little bit of a lead back at home. If they can go 3-1 going back to Denver, I think it's going to be tough for the Nuggets to turn it around from there.
It will be very tough. It's also going to be tough for Miami to go 3-1 up with the Joker doing his thing
Yeah.
on a nightly basis. I think most people probably still have Denver as their favourites. But you never know. If you look at it now, it's a 5-game series and Miami have the home advantage. So, it's a good place to be.
Will we 3 more games down this time next week, will we, or just 2?
I'm not too sure.
We'll,
I think they usually space them out quite a bit. But then again, you never know what happens. They can put them on pretty close together. So
tomorrow, Saturday, Tuesday. Yeah, we'll have had 3 games by then. Alrighty, so we'll have a little bit more. Possibly could be done by then. Who knows? But
Denver could have their first title, or Miami could see the glory days return. But that's probably about it for now.
Yeah, we'll have a look this time next week to see whether we have got a champion or not. And with everything else sort of being finished up for the year, we'll just sort of get straight into the darts now. We had they went over to the States, the darters, over the weekend. The darters, I don't like that word really. But they went off to the States, and we had a couple of tournaments over the weekend. We had the North American Darts Masters, which was taken rather anticlimactically by MVG in the final. Now, it was one of the Masters, so a 2-day event, and quite a weird setup. They had the Masters on the evening and the next day in the evening, obviously, and then that in between there in the middle there was the North American Darts Championships. Now Ross Smith, a Canadian bloke, managed to take the cake there and continued his form into the Darts Masters. Now he was one of the only qualifiers, home nation qualifiers, to make it through the next day. He then goes off and pulls out a crazy 1-6-7 finish in a last leg decider against Luke Humphries to make his way into the final. Now I jumped straight onto Ned's. Thought I've got to put a bit of money on Ross Smith here. I thought if he can get a win, it's going to be bloody tight. I had my 680 in the bank that I'd won off my Broncos game. Chucked 680 on him to win 8-7, and unfortunately he went out there and got trounced 8-0 in the final by MVG. Far too good on the day. A few Players' Championships this weekend. But I think the big talking point that we get to look forward to in the next few weeks is that the World Cup is upon us now. We're getting behind Ben Robb and Warren Parry and hoping that they can get out there and get a win for the Kiwis. The switch to just straight doubles matches now, no more singles and doubles like the World Cup used to be. I believe it's the 14th to the 17th of June, somewhere around then. Obviously the timing will be a little bit off, but we'll be hoping, I think by this time next week we'll have the draw, so we'll know who the Kiwis are up against, so we can have a little look to see what they're like and whether or not we've got some good chances. Who knows? We may be able to see these Kiwis take it that step further. I know Ben's been playing some pretty awesome darts on the New Zealand circuit at the moment, so we're crossing our fingers for those two. But it does wrap us up for the week. Now, as always, if you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in, thank you for listening, watching, however you may be indulging in TGIF. If you've enjoyed it, remember to give us a like, a 5-star, a comment, subscribe to the potty, give us a follow on all your socials. Enjoy your week ahead and all that comes with it, whether that be sporting or not. And if you are having a punt, please do so responsibly. And hopefully, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good to me. See you then. Ciao.
Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win the grand final.
Whips that one away, and Kane Williamson and his team now World Test champions.